The robbery begins. The market was alive with sound. Voices of traders filled the wide street. Strange fruits glowed on the stands. Small alien machines hummed while selling themselves. The smell of burning spice drifted through the air. Colors of red, gold, and green lit up the banners above the crowd. Everyone moved fast. Everyone looked busy. In the middle of the noise walked a young alien girl with her mother. The girl had silver skin and bright eyes that reflected every light in the market. Her mother walked tall, her hands wrapped around a chain that hung from her neck. The chain carried a glowing amulet, an old piece of treasure that pulsed with soft blue light. People looked at it when she passed, but no one dared to ask about it. The girl smiled, pointing at a toy stall, but her mother pulled her gently forward. They could not waste time. They had something more important to do. The girl felt safe under her mother's hand, but safety was about to break. From the shadow of a broken wall, 3 masked figures watched them. The leader of the group, tall and thin, nodded. His voice was sharp as a knife. "There it is. The relic. Take it from her." The robbers stepped out of the dark and blocked the narrow path. The crowd around slowed, then stopped. Silence spread in waves. The traders pulled their goods away. No one wanted to stand close. No one wanted to become part of what was coming. The girl's eyes widened. She pulled at her mother's arm. But her mother stood still, her face calm yet pale. The leader spoke again. "Hand us the amulet. Do it fast. If you fight, you suffer." The mother shook her head. "This belongs to my family. It is not for thieves." The leader laughed, but the sound was not real laughter. It was cold. His partners moved closer. One of them grabbed the girl's shoulder. She screamed as the rough hand tore her shirt open. Her bright skin showed, and shame burned in her eyes. Gasps ran through the crowd, but still no one moved to help. Fear chained them. The mother tried to shield her daughter. "Stop this!" she cried. The leader reached for the glowing amulet. His fingers hovered inches from it. The blue light pulsed faster, as if warning. The girl trembled, holding the torn fabric of her shirt against her body. Tears filled her eyes. She wanted to shout, but no words came. Then, from the edge of the crowd, a man stepped forward. He was not tall compared to the aliens. He had no strange glowing skin, no horns, no tail. He was just a human. His clothes were simple. His hands were empty. Yet his eyes were steady, and his steps carried weight. The robbers turned to him. The leader squinted. "What are you? Another fool who thinks he can play hero?" The human did not answer at once. He looked at the girl. He saw the tears on her face, the fear in her small hands, the shame in her eyes. He looked at the mother who stood firm but desperate. Then he turned his gaze back to the robbers. "Leave them alone," he said. His voice was calm, but it cut through the silence of the market. The leader tilted his head. Then he laughed again, this time louder. The sound echoed against the walls. "You think you can order us? You are nothing. You are weak. Humans are weak." The human did not move. His eyes stayed locked on the leader. The crowd began to whisper. Some whispered fear. Some whispered hope. It was rare to see a human here, rarer still to see one stand against armed robbers. The girl's heart beat fast. She did not know why, but seeing the human there made her feel less alone. The robbers stepped closer to him. One drew a blade that shined with alien metal. Another pulled a shock rod that sparked blue energy. They circled him slowly, like hunters circling prey. But the human did not step back. He lifted his hands not in surrender but in readiness. His body shifted slightly, balanced, prepared. The leader sneered. "Last chance, human. Walk away or bleed." The human's voice was steady. "If you want that amulet, you must come through me." The girl gasped. The mother's eyes widened. The crowd went silent again. The first robber lunged forward with his blade. The human sidestepped, fast as lightning. His hand caught the robber's wrist and twisted. The blade fell with a clatter. The robber cried out. The second robber rushed, with the shock rod. The human ducked low, his arm sweeping the robber's legs. The alien crashed to the ground. Sparks from the rod lit the dust. The crowd shouted now, some in fear, some in awe. The human had moved with precision, as if he had trained for this moment his entire life. The leader growled, anger burning in his voice. "You will regret this." The human stood tall, his eyes still calm, though sweat ran down his face. He glanced at the girl again, and for the first time she felt hope. He turned back to the robbers, ready for what was to come. The market, once full of sound, held its breath. The fight had only begun. The humans stand. The market no longer felt alive. The traders hid behind their stalls. Children clutched their parents. Eyes stayed fixed on the center where a single human stood against three robbers. The torn shirt of the alien girl still shook in her small hands. Her mother held her close, her face tense with fear, yet hope flickered in her eyes. The leader of the robbers snarled. He raised his long arm, pointing at the human as if marking him for death. "You should not have interfered. You will pay for this with blood." The human did not move. His breathing was steady. His stance was strong. He was outnumbered, but his spirit carried no weakness. His eyes scanned the enemies, reading their weapons, reading their bodies. He was calm, yet ready. The crowd whispered louder now. Some called him foolish, some called him brave, but no one could look away. The leader stepped forward, drawing his own weapon. It was not just a blade, it was a long staff of black steel, humming with red light. Sparks dripped from its tip. The sound alone made the air heavy. The alien girl gasped, her tears falling again. She had never seen such a weapon so close. She wanted to cry out, to beg the human to run, but her voice was trapped inside her chest. The mother placed a hand on her daughter's head. "Watch," she whispered. "Do not look away. What he does now will matter." The human shifted his weight slightly. He spoke in a low voice, calm yet sharp. "If you want the amulet, then come and take it, but you will not touch them again." The leader's laugh broke the silence. "You think you can protect them? You are only one. You are only human." Then he struck. The red staff cracked through the air, fast and brutal, but the human did not freeze. He moved like water, stepping sideways. The staff struck the stone ground, sparks flying. The noise rang like thunder. The second robber rushed with his shock rod, swinging wildly. The human dropped low, catching the robber's arm. With one sharp movement, he pulled the robber forward and slammed him into the ground. The rod fell from his hand. Blue sparks danced across the dirt. The third robber, the one who had torn the girl's shirt, pulled a blaster from his belt. The crowd gasped. A weapon of pure energy. No human could survive its strike. He aimed at the human's chest. His finger tightened on the trigger. The human's eyes flashed. He moved before the shot came. His hand gripped a stone from the ground. With speed and precision, he threw it. The stone struck the robber's hand. The blaster fired into the air, a white beam cutting through a banner. The weapon spun away, lost in the crowd. The girl's mouth fell open. She had never seen such speed, such control. He was fighting without armor, without weapons, only his mind and his strength. The leader roared in anger. He swung the red staff again, this time aiming for the human's head. The strike came with deadly force. The human raised his arm, blocking with only his wrist. Pain shot through his body, but he did not fall. Instead, he twisted close, his elbow smashing into the leader's chest. The tall robber stumbled back, shock flashing across his masked face. The crowd gasped again, louder than before. For the first time, whispers of awe filled the air. A human. is fighting them and winning. The leader regained balance, rage burning in his voice. You think this is enough? You think you can defeat us all? The human spoke clearly, his voice firm. I do not think. I know. The girl's eyes widened. The words cut deep into her heart. He was not just standing. He was declaring victory before the end. The robbers regrouped, forming a circle around him. Each one held pain in his eyes, but also hate. They were stronger in number, and they knew it. They began to move together, closing in. The crowd held its breath. The mother clutched the amulet tighter, feeling its pulse grow faster. The human stood at the center of the circle. His chest rose and fell with steady breaths. He did not look afraid. He looked alive. The leader shouted, "End him!" All three charged at once. The human's body moved in rhythm, faster than the eye could follow. He ducked under the staff, turned, and struck the second robber in the ribs. The sound of breaking bone echoed. He caught the arm of the third, pulling him forward and slamming him into the ground again. Dust flew. The leader's staff cut through the air once more, but the human caught it between his palms, twisting it free. The red staff cracked against the stone floor. The crowd erupted into shouts. Some could not believe what they were seeing. Some cheered. Some cried. The alien girl's torn shirt slipped from her hands. She no longer cared. Her wide eyes burned. With hope, watching every move. The human stood, his chest heaving, holding the staff of his enemy. He pointed it back at them, his voice strong. This fight is over. But deep inside, he knew it was not finished. The robbers were wounded, but not broken. The leader's eyes still burned with hate. The market still trembled with fear. And the amulet at the mother's neck glowed brighter than ever. The true storm was yet to come. The battle turns fierce. The air was thick with dust. The human stood at the center of the broken ground, holding the stolen staff in his hands. His chest rose and fell, each breath slow and steady. The crowd could not look away. They had seen him disarm the robbers. They had seen him stand alone against three enemies. But they all knew the fight was not finished. The leader of the robbers staggered back to his feet. His mask was cracked, showing part of his twisted face beneath. Rage burned in his eyes. "Kill him!" he growled, his voice sharp and venomous. "Tear him apart!" The two other robbers obeyed. One pulled a hidden blade from his boot, curved and glowing with sickly green light. The other pulled a second shock rod, sparks raining from its end. They circled the human like predators, their footsteps slow, deliberate. The human kept his grip tight on the staff. His eyes moved between them, watching every small shift in their stance. He could feel their intent, deadly, desperate. His arms ached, his body was bruised, but his spirit was unbroken. The alien girl pressed against her mother's chest. Her torn shirt slipped from her shoulder, but she no longer cared about her shame. All she cared about was the man who stood for them. Her small voice whispered, trembling yet full of hope, "Please, win." The mother placed her hand on her daughter's head, her eyes never leaving the human. "He will," she said, though her own heart pounded with fear. The first robber struck. His blade flashed with green fire, slicing through the air toward the human's side. The human twisted, the stolen staff rising in time to block. Sparks exploded as the weapons clashed. The shock sent pain through his arms, but he held firm. The second robber lunged with the shock rod. The human ducked low, sweeping the staff across the robber's legs. The alien stumbled, sparks scattering against the ground. The crowd shouted, their voices breaking the silence of fear. But the leader was waiting. As the human focused on the second robber, the leader raised his hand. From his belt, he pulled. A hidden weapon, small but deadly, a plasma dagger, glowing red like fire. He moved fast, thrusting forward, aiming for the human's back. The alien girl screamed, her voice cutting through the noise. "Behind you!" The human spun, his reflex sharp. The plasma dagger sliced across his arm. Pain burned through his flesh. Blood ran down, hot and dark. His face twisted for a moment, but his stance never broke. He struck back with the staff, the tip slamming into the leader's chest. The tall robber stumbled, crashing into a stall of broken metal parts. The crowd gasped. Some covered their mouths. Blood now ran down the human's arm, staining his clothes, dripping onto the dirt. He was hurt, but his eyes burned brighter, fiercer. The leader roared with rage, climbing to his feet. "End him! End him now!" The two robbers attacked together. The blade cut from the left, the shock rod from the right. The human raised the staff, blocking one, then twisting to deflect the other. His movements were sharp, precise, but the strain showed. His body shook with each clash. His breath grew heavier. The alien girl held her mother tighter. Tears streamed down her face. She wanted to run to him, to shield him, but she could not move. She could only watch. The mother whispered under her breath, her eyes fixed on the amulet at her chest. "Not yet. Not yet." The blue light of the amulet glowed brighter, pulsing like a heartbeat, reacting to the chaos around it. The human fought on, each strike heavier than the last. He twisted the staff, knocking the blade from one robber's hand. He kicked the shock rod aside. He moved with fury now, with raw strength, driving them back step by step. The crowd began to cheer, louder and louder. Their voices shook the market walls, but the leader was not finished. He raised his plasma dagger again, his face twisted with hate. "I will carve the life from you, human!" he charged. The human met him head on. Staff against dagger, flesh against fire. The clash sent shockwaves through the ground. The leader screamed with rage. The human grunted with effort. Sparks burned the air. Dust rose in thick clouds. The girl clutched her mother's arm. Her voice broke. "He cannot hold forever." The mother's eyes were fixed on the glowing amulet. Its light was no longer soft. It was bright, fierce, alive. She whispered, "The relic is waking." The crowd gasped again as the amulet flared, casting blue light across the market. The robbers froze for a moment, fear flashing in their eyes. The leader's face twisted in panic. The human, bleeding, breathing hard, saw the glow. He did not know what it meant. He only knew one thing. He must protect the mother and daughter at all costs. With a final surge of strength, he drove the staff upward, striking the leader across the mask. The mask shattered, flying into the dirt. The leader fell to his knees, blood pouring from his mouth. The two remaining robbers froze, shock and fear breaking their will. The crowd erupted in cheers. Some shouted the word human again and again. Others fell silent, unable to believe what they had witnessed. The girl's tears turned to cries of joy. The mother held her close, her eyes wet with pride, but the human did not cheer. He stood tall, blood dripping from his arm, staff still in hand. His eyes stayed locked on the leader, who was still alive, crawling, his eyes full of hate. The fight was not over. It was only changing, because the amulet was glowing brighter than ever. The hidden power of the amulet. The marketplace lay in ruins. Stalls were shattered. Fruit crushed into the dirt, and smoke drifted from broken machines. The crowd stood in a wide circle, their voices hushed now. All eyes fixed on the human who bled but did not bow. His body shook with pain, yet his stance was unbroken. The alien girl clung to her mother, her small fingers clutching the fabric of her cloak. Her eyes were red from crying, but now they widened as the amulet at her mother's chest began to blaze with light. It pulsed stronger than before, a living glow that made the shadows retreat. The leader of the robbers staggered to his feet. His mask was gone, revealing a scarred, twisted face. His eyes burned with hate and fear, both at once. He spat blood into the dirt. "The relic. It cannot be in your hands. It belongs to us. It belongs to power." The mother raised her chin, her voice steady though her hands trembled. "This amulet is not for thieves. It is not for killers. It is for protection. Always protection." The leader's face twisted into a snarl. He gestured to his last two men, and they lifted their weapons again, though their bodies shook with doubt. The blue light of the amulet seemed to reach into their bones, chilling them. The human stepped between the mother and the robbers, blood dripping down his arm, staff still in his hands. His voice was firm. "You will not take it. Not while I stand." The leader roared and charged again, dagger glowing red. The human met him with the stolen staff, the clash ringing like thunder. The other two robbers joined, blades and rods striking in fury. The human fought back, but his body was wearing thin. His wounds burned. His breaths grew heavier. The crowd held their breath, afraid that even his courage would not be enough. Then the amulet shined brighter still. A low hum filled the air, deep and endless, like the heartbeat of the world itself. The ground beneath their feet trembled. The robbers froze mid-strike, their eyes wide. The mother gasped, clutching the amulet, but it moved on its own. The chain lifted into the air, glowing so bright that no eye could look directly at it. The alien girl cried out, covering her face. The crowd stepped back in fear. Some dropped to their knees, whispering ancient words. The human turned, his eyes narrowing. He had no history with this relic, but he could feel its force. It was alive. It was aware. The leader shouted, his voice cracking with greed and terror. "Yes, the relic awakens! It will grant me power!" He leapt forward, reaching for the floating amulet, but the amulet rejected him. The light flared, blasting him backward across the dirt. His body struck the wall of a stall and crumpled with a sickening thud. He screamed in pain, his skin burned with blue fire. The human shielded his eyes, but he did not step back. His heart pounded, yet he stood still, protecting the mother and daughter with his body. The amulet's light calmed slightly, then focused. It hovered in the air between them. For a moment, it seemed to look at the human, as if measuring him. The air grew heavy with silence. The crowd dared not breathe. The girl whispered, her voice shaking. "Mother, what is it doing?" The mother's lips trembled. "It chooses." The human frowned, sweat running down his face. "Chooses what?" Before she could answer, the amulet drifted closer to the human. The light touched his wounded arm, and suddenly the bleeding slowed. The pain dulled, his body filled with warmth, as if strength poured back into his bones. The crowd gasped. Some cried out in disbelief. Others bowed their heads in reverence. The robbers screamed in rage. "No, it is ours!" They charged again, desperate and wild. But this time, the human moved with new power. He spun the staff with speed, striking the first robber across the chest. The alien flew backward, landing hard and unmoving. The second robber raised his blade, but the human's eyes burned with the amulet's glow. He caught the blade in his bare hand, shattering it with strength that was no longer human alone. The crowd erupted. Their fear turned into thunderous cheers. The girl's tears spilled again, but now they were tears of hope. "He is chosen!" she cried. The leader crawled across the dirt, his face twisted in horror. "No! No! A human cannot hold the relic! He is not worthy! He is nothing!" The human stepped forward, his shadow falling over the broken leader. His voice was steady, filled with the strength of something greater. "I am enough. Enough to protect them. Enough to end this." The amulet blazed again, and the remaining robbers fled in terror, their weapons abandoned in the dirt. The crowd roared louder, their voices echoing through the ruins of the market. The mother fell to her knees, her eyes wet with both fear and relief. She whispered, "The relic has not chosen in centuries, but now it has chosen a human." The girl clutched her mother's hand. Her small voice trembled but was filled with wonder. "He saved us, and the relic knows." The human looked at the glowing amulet still hovering near him. He did not smile. He did not cheer. He only stood in silence, blood on his clothes, light on his skin. The market had witnessed something impossible, but the storm was not yet gone. The leader still breathed, and in his broken, hateful eyes, a darker plan was already forming. The aftermath and respect. The light of the amulet dimmed but did not fade. It hovered close to the human, its glow gentle now, like a flame resting but not gone. The crowd stood in silence, their voices hushed, their hearts pounding. They had seen something impossible. A human, chosen by a relic older than their world. The alien girl gripped her mother's hand, her bright eyes fixed on the human. Her torn shirt no longer mattered. Her fear no longer ruled her. What she saw before her was hope shaped in flesh and blood. The mother bowed her head slightly, whispering to herself. The relic has decided. He is worthy. But the silence broke with a rasping sound. The leader of the robbers was not dead. His body shook as he dragged himself across the dirt. His mask was shattered, his face burned by blue fire, but his eyes still held hate. He coughed blood, yet his hand reached for a hidden weapon beneath his belt. A small blaster, deadly at close range. The girl gasped. "He is still alive!" The human turned, his body tense. He had fought through wounds, faced blades and staffs, but this was different. The blaster could kill him before he even moved. The leader's mouth twisted into a broken smile. "You may have their cheers, human, but you will not leave alive." His hand rose, the blaster aimed at the human's chest. The crowd screamed. Some turned away. The mother cried out, clutching the girl. But the amulet moved. It pulsed with sudden fire, bursting into light so bright it blinded the market. A shock wave of energy rippled through the air. The leader screamed as the blaster shattered in his hand. His body shook, then collapsed fully into the dirt, smoke rising from his burned skin. His eyes went dark. Silence fell again, deeper than before. The relic's glow dimmed once more, floating slowly back to the mother's chest, resting against her skin as if it had never left. The human lowered his staff. His body ached. Blood still ran from his wounds, but he stood tall. His eyes swept across the silent crowd. He saw fear. He saw awe. But most of all, he saw respect. The mother rose to her feet, holding the amulet against her chest. She stepped forward, her eyes wet with tears. She looked at the human for a long moment before speaking. Her voice was steady but filled with deep emotion. "You fought with nothing but your will. You protected us when all others turned away, and the relic itself answered you. No one here can deny what has happened." The crowd stirred. Whispers became voices. Voices became shouts. "Human! The protector! The chosen! The—" alien girl stepped forward, her small hands trembling. She looked up at the human, her torn clothes hanging loose, her eyes shining with both gratitude and admiration. "You saved me. You saved my mother. I will never forget." For the first time, the human allowed a small smile. He placed a hand gently on her shoulder, not as a warrior, but as a guardian. "No one should face such fear alone. You are safe." "Now!" The crowd erupted. Cheers filled the broken marketplace, louder than the clash of weapons, stronger than the cries of fear. Traders raised their hands, children shouted his name, and warriors bowed their heads. But the human did not raise, his arms in triumph. He stood quietly, his eyes still serious. He knew the fight was won, but danger would always return. He knew power drew greed, and greed drew violence. The mother stepped closer, lifting the amulet from her neck. For a moment, she held it out. To him, her hands shaking. "It should be yours. The relic has chosen you." The human shook his head. He pushed her hands back gently. "It does not belong to me. It belongs to you, to your people. I am only its shield, not its master." The crowd fell silent again, hearing his words. Even the girl's mouth parted in awe. This man, wounded and weary, had carried their hope, and yet he asked for nothing in return. The mother bowed deeply, her voice full of respect. "Then you are greater than even the relic knows." The alien girl smiled through her tears. Her small voice whispered what the whole market now believed. "He is more than human. He is our protector." The cheers returned, echoing through the ruined streets, carried beyond the market to every ear that would listen. The tale of this day would not die. It would grow. The human looked once more at the robbers, broken in the dirt. He looked at the mother and her daughter, standing safe. He looked at the amulet, glowing softly once more. Then he turned his back to the crowd, walking slowly, his steps heavy with exhaustion, but strong with pride. The marketplace would never forget. The galaxy itself would never forget. For on this day, one human had risen against fear, against greed, against death itself, and he had stood victorious.